You're listening to The New Paris. I'm your host, Lindsay Trâmette. What happens when you trade 15 years of working in law for a professional kitchen? In the case of today's guest, you get one of the most flavorful and unique dining experiences in the city. I'm joined today by Priscilla Tram, the chef and founder behind Tram 130, or 130, who has changed the conversation about what personal cooking looks like in Paris today. Her food defies easy categorization, but is a masterclass in umami. We'll talk about the career shift, why Paris was finally ready for her specific, bold culinary voice. We'll have a sneak peek at her brand new project opening soon in the 11th arrondissement. And of course, we'll talk about where she eats when she has a day off. A quick reminder, if you're enjoying the show but aren't yet subscribed, hit that follow button wherever you're listening to be notified as soon as a new episode is released. Priscilla, welcome to the show.
Hey, Lindsay, thanks.
I love your restaurant.
Thank you.
It is even better that it is in the 11th arrondissement, which obviously
so close.
You're so close. And also where all, the great dining has been in the last 15 years. I'm not saying there's no good dining anywhere else, but we are particularly lucky.
So glad.
But when I first went, I didn't have the backstory that you had this whole other life. So you were a lawyer.
Yeah, it was so secretive.
Secretive?
Yeah, it was such a double life because I felt not legitimate in both areas. And I had my 15 years as a lawyer and I was working in anti-corruption cases, which is quite a serious subject.
Yeah.
And I started cooking a bit secretly in my living room, coming back from Hong Kong and having like private dinners at my place. And then I had friends in the restaurant industry, so they were interested in what I was doing. And it was before the pop-up times of COVID and where all the pop-ups started really shaping up. So I started doing that at my restaurants, at my friends' restaurants on the Sundays and Mondays when they were closed. And so, step by step, I did that on night times and weekends. And being a lawyer, I went to the office during the day. And then nighttime, I went back and then I switched for my apron. And then I went to the kitchen and worked until 2 a.m. And then I had like this whole routine of having both lives. And I didn't want to tell to the people in the restaurant industry that I was still a lawyer because I wanted to be taken seriously. Took me quite some time to be called a chef. Like for me, I wasn't a chef until I had a real restaurant with real walls around me. But here we are now. I dropped a law career. And
when did you realize that law was not going to be the thing you wanted to pursue? Because you also lived in the U.S. for a while.
Yeah.
What was that realization like? And when did you move back to Paris? Because you're born in Paris.
Born in Paris, Paris 14th. Went to study in the U.S. when I was at university in San Francisco. And then I worked in New York. I worked in Hong Kong for a little while. And then I came back here. Long story, but then we had a new anti-corruption law frame here. So I came back for that in 2013. And it was gradual. It's like I said, I built up my confidence and I didn't know if I was good at cooking or no. I was good at eating for sure.
Also important.
But you do have chefs who don't like eating, actually.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a path. Like they kind of, went to culinary school by default and then just end up cooking because it's the only thing they can do, but they don't really like eating. Like they would go home and eat junk food, which I do also sometimes out of tiredness.
Yeah, of course.
Like everyone else. But I didn't know if like my cuisine was going to be something people wanted. It was going to be a real career. So it took me some time to be tired also to have both lives because I was doing long hours. And both jobs. If you're just a lawyer, if you're a lawyer or a chef, it's already a job that requires so much time. So at some point, I had to decide. It had been 6-7 years that I was doing both, and it was.
Oh my gosh! You managed. You held on that long.
Yeah, very long. And I did pop-ups in Madrid, New York, Brussels.
So that's all since you were back in Paris.
Since I was back in Paris,
Wow.
It lasted for 7 years, where I didn't have a fixed kitchen. So every time I had to travel around with plates and spices and sauces and kitchen tools.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot to restart again. And then when you're solo, you have to think about the invoicing. You have to, go to the grocery store yourself because you don't have any people that come and deliver it to your door. So a whole logistics. I think I burned myself out almost for doing that. But so proud of it, so happy because it led me to being more at my place. People really gave me excellent feedbacks over the years, gave me a lot of confidence. And at some point I decided I like the law. I think it's still such an interesting subject matter. And
well, surely it must help you in your work, no? At least for, I mean, I know you're not a contract lawyer, but doesn't it help with?
It helps. It helps structures your mind. It gives you like a way of reading things. I think it's really hard when you're a chef and you're disorganized. So somehow having this discipline really helps me in my daily routine.
I bet.
Yeah.
And was your goal to open a restaurant in the 11th, or you were sort of flexible? You were open to wherever?
So it went really quick. Like, I'm a fast decision thinker. I'm very impulsive. This is maybe my big, the big flaw in my personality is that I don't think twice about things. And it can be a risky approach to things, especially when you're putting all your savings in one place and opening a restaurant. The first restaurant that I actually wanted was a friend who was in real estate, and he was like, I have a restaurant to show you. It's in the 11th, but it was further than here. So here we're in Goncourt Parmentier, and the restaurant was in Voltaire. Empty street, no restaurants around. I looked at the restaurant and I was like, oh, it looks so great. I love this restaurant. But, I wanted so much to open a restaurant.
Right.
So everything just looked so shiny and bright new to me. And doable, like, that's okay. I'll just throw in some renovations and it will be like magical. But then after 2 or 3 months of going to the bank and, thinking about the project, it just evolved in time for me to say, no, it's such a bad decision making. I'm going to have a better place. And then I just stepped to the second restaurant where it's almost across where I live, but not too far from our respective places. And second visit, second choice. And I decided to open there. And it was like one of the best decisions.
And now it's been almost 2 years, right?
It's been almost 2 years, yeah.
Wow.
So we celebrated our first year. We opened in just before the Olympics. So a bit of a hard time because, as you know, for the restaurant industry, it was a nightmare.
Well, it was a nightmare unless you were very close to some of the venues.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to be maybe the opposite, that people would be like, great, I can go to the 11th because it'll be calm. But actually, and what we realized, they're not the same traveler.
It's not. It's really not. And I think we were all misguided. Even the public official discourse was to say restaurant businesses, careful, you're going to have flows of tourists coming your way. It's going to be booming. And then it was just empty. Yeah. It was a joke. We were like 5 people working in the restaurant for 5 customers some nights.
Oh my God.
So hard to start like that. And, you've put all your savings. The renovations took some time. And we invested so much. So it just started with a failure, like a big flop. For 4 months waiting for customers. And
4 months?
Yeah, because we opened in May, end of May. So May,
and all the
June.
Pre-Olympics.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. Oh.
Yeah, so I started on a bumpy road, but in September, things just took off. And people came back to their city. Parisians came back. Life got back to normal again, and then the restaurant worked really fine. It's still working well. We created an emulation around it. I think the cuisine also marks people's minds because it has this unique kind of approach to seasoning. Unique, I mean, it's not really modest what I'm saying, but I mean...
Please, don't be modest.
But I mean, if you go to the restaurant, I think you can say when you eat there that my plates are really personal. Like, it's almost maximalist. Like, a lot of things happening, a lot of thinking going to the prep and the harmony of the plates. And I think it just shows that, like, I thought it like the place I would eat myself.
Exactly. Yeah. Which you get the sense that there are some places that are, not that they're phoning it in, but they are disconnected from what they're doing. They're doing it because it's a business and not because they believe wholeheartedly in the dishes.
Yeah, or sometimes you just have this configuration where, and it's okay. I mean, everyone has its business model, but you have restaurants where it's not run by chefs and it's more like run by the sommelier or the people serving in the room. So it will change the perception of that. And for me, maybe I'm not as good me when I'm in the room to serving people, or I'm not a good sommelier like my team. But it really happens in the plate, and this is the most important. The experience really revolves around that.
Well, speaking of what happens on the plate, I think it's worth talking about how you see your own cooking, because before we started recording, I think I was so glad you brought this up, that the French tried to label what you're doing as a cross between your cultures, right? French and Vietnamese. And that's the knee-jerk reaction to chefs with a certain background, as if they are not able to do other things.
Exactly. Yeah, we need to be labeled. We need to be in a category. And I've thought about that a lot, because I don't want to take it in the wrong way. And I want things to evolve. So I'm not angry. I'm just trying to see how and how this thinking is built up and how we can deconstruct some of this thinking. And I want people to understand also. And I think my analysis anyway is that French cuisine is so powerful in history and in people's minds that for a long time in France, we actually didn't have a lot of space remaining for other forms of cuisine, other countries, other backgrounds, and other forms of cuisines were under-evaluated, underrated, and it was fast food. So it was like Japanese but adapted to French palate, or Vietnamese, but it has to remain cheap. And so these things still stay. And I think, for example, when you're in the US, you can have very elevated Asian bistro. You can have all sorts of cuisines that are taken seriously, and they will just be branded as restaurants, bistro, gastronomic scene. And here, my issue is that I chose to name my restaurant Tram, pronounced Vietnamese.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that.
So Tram 130. Which is a Vietnamese name. So, of course, people are going to think, okay, it's a French and Vietnamese restaurant. But maybe in 2026, we can have a restaurant that is named, in Vietnamese and still have a bistro style without being branded perpetuously as Asian or fusion or anything. It's just bistro, really. We have a nice design inside. We have a sommelier at the table that are coming and explaining to you every dish, every menu. We have seasonal products. We have real prep in the kitchen. So we're just a bistro, and sometimes it's just not that useful to link it to a background or like a country. So,
well, and also you're using, when you're talking about spices and condiments, they might not be Vietnamese.
Exactly.
But they could be Japanese, or they could be...
We have... so if we really want to brand it, I like to use the term umami. We're very umami driven. I don't use salt a lot, which is I think part of the cuisine I'm trying to express, has a lot of acidity, a lot of herbs, condiments, and salt will take the shape of Thai nuoc mam, Japanese miso. It can be Chinese soy sauce. It could be Mexican, ruku sometimes, which is like the little grain, red grain that gives the salt. So if we really need to go on the explanation of the plates and the taste, I think the umami is the right direction.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
It does relate to something I talked to Julien Pham about, who I think you know very well. And he also said that there's a moment we're living in where sort of immigrant kids and, second generation or French first generation to immigrant parents are in the food world and are more like with their whole chest embracing their culture. And for so long, they had to subdue it. And even if you think about those early Chinese restaurants, after the waves of immigration, where they were just trying to survive and have a business, and they were doing, you see it still all over. Restaurant asiatique. It's like they're doing all of the things.
Yeah,
and not their own, not even food that they really want to be cooking.
Yeah, it's the food for the people and how people want it, like how you think they want it, and that's how you're gonna make it. I think about it because I just went to the Olympiade, in the 13e yesterday, and I was thinking this is the place where I grew up, where we had restaurants that are made of 50 pages menus, and it's sometimes it's frozen, but most of the time it's not really. I mean, it's like they're gonna make so many dishes, and then you're thinking about the prices, the price ranges that go from very cheap, and it's not accepted if it's too expensive, because in people's mind they're gonna be ready to spend 20 euros at McDonald's for a maxi best of, but then if you take a pho, it's like never would I pay over 18 euros, which is defined as expensive. And this is a prejudice that I think people, children of immigrants, second generation, we're trying to fight today. We are trying to elevate people's perspective of what we do. For example, if I really have to take Vietnamese cuisine as an example, I think it was undersold for so long, and it's still the case. The banh mi today, when we go to Belleville, is still 4 euros, 5 euros. But when you look at it, it's like you have homemade mayo in it. You have 5 cold cuts that are homemade. You have some pickles that are finely shredded, pickled also. You have some herbs. The baguette has to be crispy and out of the oven of almost in the minute. So it's all that, and then you compare it, 4 euros. It's never even comparable to a 6 euros butter and ham, which is like,
I know. But your restaurant is around the corner from The Hood and Nonette.
Yeah.
And Pearl, who owns both of them, has talked to me endlessly about this.
I know.
Feedback about, their banh mi are like 8 euros and up, but they are doing even more than a lot of banh mi places are.
Everything at Pearl's places is homemade. They use, I know they use AOP butter. They use like a lot of cold cuts that come from meats that are French, that are from terroirs. And this is... So that's great that you know the story, and I'm so happy to exchange about it. But
no, because it's not only offensive.
Yeah.
But we are, like you said, in 2026. Why is this still happening? You'll pay 18 euros for a burger in some places.
Exactly.
And I feel like I've said some of these things on the podcast before, and yet that must have been years ago, and we're still saying it.
We're still saying it, and I think it's difficult also because the economy is so hard right now. We've seen it in the restaurant industry recently. People, I don't know, it's almost like we're in some kind of war mind at the moment. Yeah. People are being very careful about how they spend. So I think it's the case for everyone. But even for us, the products are more expensive. And still, I think the first people that take the blame for being too high on prices are always people who have a cuisine that is branded like foreign or exotic, or I don't know. This is a bias I'm really keen on changing, and I'll have to explain it, and I have to explain it.
How often does that come up in a restaurant setting like yours, since you're not doing something that is so visibly tied to one culture?
I think I have to fight every day for it. Like, it was a stand to have a service that is very considerate and trying to have the best possible experience on the table. We spend money on fresh flowers every week. We have, every place are ceramics, and they change along the menus during the season. So we really have this thing where we try to give the message that we care about what we do and what's in the plate. But we do have this feedback of it's really expensive for the neighborhood, which is not true, because I go to restaurants and I know the prices, and if you look at it, we're in the 11th where the price of the rent is so high. We're trying to also pay our employees well. And I've been a lawyer, so I know what is expensive.
Sure.
I think like when I was charging, I don't know, 200 euros for an hour, no one was budgeting. But now that I'm in the restaurant business,
Right.
everyone thinks that I'm making so much money, and we are not. I mean, it's if we have a table and we don't sell wines, we almost don't make such a margin. So I'm a bit sad actually when
It's
people
hurtful.
say,
Yeah.
it's hurtful when you put so much work into it. And we have this feedback once in a while, not that
all the
much.
time,
I think
yeah.
in my mind I'm taking it a bit too much because it's my business, but we get it once in a while, like maybe once a week or twice a week.
Just for the listeners to know also, the 11th was more affordable for restaurants 12, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And obviously because it's done so well, that forces everything up. And before you open, there's further up the road is Bouche.
Yeah.
And I don't really think people are saying that's too expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
So people say these things when they're making a judgment call based on misunderstanding or just a lack of information, really.
Yeah. That's my example.
No, it makes sense. And I really do hope it changes. But I have to say, there does seem to be a lot of energy and excitement around, frankly, non-traditionally French cooking.
Yeah, I think so.
And when I think of some of the best chefs today, they are not Franco-Français.
Yeah. I think they are not Franco-Français. They are not in the also classical, like chain of training of the cooking. So they are not from culinary school from the start. They will be, like me, like lawyers, accountants, from different ethnic backgrounds, nationalities.
Yep.
I don't know, they were living in Mexico. They came to Paris 2 years ago and they have a restaurant. And it's great because people are discovering this and there's a lot more passion in it. There's a new way of being free in the restaurant industry in a way where today you have so many restaurants, but different formats. Like we have the classical bouillon and bistro and stuff, but then you have a whole kind of ovni category and it's taking off. It's great. I think it's a great time at the moment to be.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of food that feels sort of like meh.
Yeah, that's true.
I did this thing with this like interview croisée with Christine Doublé, who was at Le Fooding, because we both felt like there's a lot of places that are just sort of fine.
Yeah.
And really, even though we didn't call this out, it feels like the French or more traditional neo-bistros are the ones that feel underwhelming.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's good for Paris either if it stays too much like that. And I don't.
Yeah.
We were trying to understand why we feel that way. Maybe we dine out too much.
Yeah.
I mean, our expectations get high.
I think I have the same. I had a thing of going back to basics almost, where the bistronomic scene just felt like things layered in, just neutral ways, kind of like. I will have this fish slices crudo of tuna and I will put a strawberry on it. And then I will have some kind of pesto. And you see, it's like...
it's layering.
It's a caricature, but it's layering and it lacks a bit of depth and lacks a bit of personality and soul in it. I agree totally. But I think it's shifting. It has to shift anyway. It has to shift for more exciting, has to shift for... worth it. As we said, we have context right now, so I think all these places, and you hear about it, there are a lot of restaurants that are actually giving up right now, so
yes. I think also it's sometimes you come to the end of a cycle.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why also we chose at the restaurant to have starter, main dish and dessert. We didn't want to be in this I like it, but I think it was the end also for me of the cycle of having plates to share, because it's not just I think people have a lot of complaints and we hear a lot we didn't eat enough, we went out starving, but in the same way it's really hard to keep the business model where you have to change your plates all the time and to make it again and again. And sometimes also you will have people that come and they will share plates, but not enough plates also, because when you multiply the numbers, when you're at 2, it's easy to play the game. You're going to have 4 or 5 plates to share, and that's okay. But if you're 5, 6, it's really hard when you take the order. You're not going to say, well, we're going to have 20 plates all at once. So people are going to have like maybe 5 or 6 plates. And then, so the business model doesn't really work both ways. So that's why I liked for my restaurant to have this clear vision. You can share your starters, you can share your mains, but at least you know what quantity goes in. Yeah.
Well, and that's a problem all over Paris also. I know a chef who says sometimes there are customers who come in and try to just share 2 starters and a glass of wine, and she's like, guys, like
it's really hard.
At some point we block the table for this.
I
think there's some mentality where people think, well, I'm paying, I get to choose, except that
I mean, it's right, it happens to everyone. Maybe you just want to taste, and you just want to have a small bite. I don't know, like, it's okay, but it's frustrating for us, but it's still okay. We have to find a middle ground. And I think that by structuring the menu this way, we have not that much people who do that. We still have on the table where there are 2 and they have 1 starter, and it just bumps us out because we block the table for you. Luckily for us, doesn't happen that much. And
because it's not a wine bar.
It's not a wine bar.
You do that in a wine bar. You don't do that in a restaurant.
Yeah, especially when we are booked ahead and we are just giving up on.
Plus, that means they're missing the Basque cheesecake, which is a very dumb idea.
Have some space for the cheesecake. Have some respect.
One of my very good friends, when she has come back to visit because she used to live here, she booked that little spot you have on the terrace that's in the little window.
Is it the person who said it was the most uncomfortable spot in Paris?
No, I think she said it. No, she loved it.
No, but she loved it. No, I'm kidding, because we had a table of 2 like adorable American customers, and they made a joke about it.
Oh, like, maybe that was her.
We sat at the most uncomfortable spot in Paris.
But like, they loved the meal.
Nice.
They had an amazing time.
Great.
Whatever. Like, of course, you're trying to make the best out of a situation, which is you don't really have a spot outside, but this, was what was remaining.
Yeah, I love this spot. It's actually, like eating in the corner of a comptoir, or, sitting at the bar when you have no space and you're eating between the cashier and the the glasses.
Of course.
I like it. It just feels intimate. It feels like you're, in introspection and really immersed in the restaurant. So once in a while, it just feels nice to have this kind of spots.
I agree. But you have other things in the works.
Yep.
Is this a scoop?
Yeah.
Is it a scoop?
Well, I didn't want to talk about it too early, because sometimes you jinx it by talking too early, and everyone talks about it. So they're like, where are you right now? And we know construction takes a lot of time, now I'm so close to it. So close. So let's talk about it a bit. Talking about bar and outside seatings, it's a perfect transition, because the new place I'm opening, it will be called Trâmette, which is the little sister of Tram. It's a little counter where we are gonna focus a lot on lunchtime as a deli. So it comes from my years working in the US and studying in the US, where in the neighborhood I wanted a spot where you can have an easy lunch with just chicken soup and tomato soup, and like toasty tuna melt, but very easy, good bread, homemade, a lot of hearts again in the seasonings and products, but cheap. You don't need to go to a kebab or something that is unhealthy. It's not either. Also, it's not just a salad bar or something over healthy. It's just homemade food.
Yeah.
And at nighttime, we are going to shift it to a wine bar where we have little plates. So this is where you can it's a wine bar. So you can come and have a chill, like little wine glass. And we're not going to serve just cheese and cold cuts. It's still a restaurant in that sense, where we cook really our plates. But very excited to contribute.
So this is 2 doors down from Tram.
Doors down, yeah. Yeah, it's on the 128 Rue Saint-Maur. which is
Excellent.
my street. I live across it and love the neighborhood. And we're not gonna do delivery. It just makes sense for me to, keep on thinking about how I can work on this street, I can work on this neighborhood. As you said, it used to be historically a bar student kind of vibe, and now it got a bit more, let's say, upscale, a bit more gentrified, some would say, but I think it's nice, and there are still things to do. And at lunchtime, I was going around, and I love the hood, and there are a lot of places. I love Rory and a lot
and
of
Le Favori on the other side.
And Le Favori on the other side, but Le Favori just have sandwiches, and sometimes I just want, to choose between a dish or soup or something like that.
That's true.
And it's a very residential area also with parents and kids and families. So, I'm opening this. And so excited.
Exciting. And what is your timeline? We're right now, we're end of April.
Yeah, so the timeline is next month, actually.
Next month, in May. Okay, so when this runs, it will be launch month.
It would be launch month. It would be, I'm saying that to you. I hope I'm not jinxing it, but like the latest would be June.
Listen, we all know how construction works in this town.
Yeah.
That's very exciting.
This is so exciting.
I know you don't have a lot of free time, but if you were to pick 2 places you would go on your night off.
Oh, my night offs.
Where do you go to eat or drink?
In the neighborhood or
Doesn't
outside?
have to be. Can be anywhere.
Doesn't have to be. I have one place that I really like, and I've been going there since I was a kid. I'm a very emotional person, so things are a bit nostalgic when I talk. And I like to go to a Japanese place that serves yakitoris, and there are so few places in Paris that do that. If you go in there, just be prepared. You're going to take a lot of smoking. The place hasn't renovated since like 40 years, I think. But it's called Yazube. It's on Rue Sainte-Anne. And it's,
in the second. Okay.
Yeah, in the second. And it's not a well-known address because, as I said, I think the front is not very welcoming and there's a lot of smoke. People don't really know what it is. So I would go there and they allow me to bring my own bottle of wine. And because I'm a bit of a hipster, I go there with my natural wine. And I love it so much. And another place to go for nighttime, I think I would go around in the neighborhood, maybe Le Dauphin or, like some... Oh, I go to Gram also sometimes.
Oh, yeah, right up the street.
Yeah,
absolutely.
right up the street
from
because
you.
they always have, our friends are there and the food is good and it's
You can go also for a coffee.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we have such luck to be in this neighborhood. So if I want to go a bit further, I would go to Yazube and otherwise Le Dauphin, Gram, something around the district.
Great.
Yeah.
Look at that little quick fire recommendation list.
Well, it's about food, so it just goes fast.
But I am so excited that you have a new baby.
Yeah.
A new restaurant baby coming. And if people were to order, I know it's a changing menu, but if people were to order one dish at Tram 130, what do you think is like phare, signature?
Signature is the bone marrow. I think it has been there from the start. I don't think it's going anywhere. It's a dish that embodies also the double culture of having this bone marrow, where I really like the bone marrow going to a classic bistro, but I felt it's just a lot. It's like a grease, like very fatty. It's just salt. It's just bread on the bone marrow, which is good, but it's a starter, so you start your meal with that. It's a bit heavy. And I think it embodies the way I cook because we have raw beef tartare and it's prepared with toasted rice for the roundness. We have nukmam for the umami, raw garlic and a lot of herbs and a dash of lemon for the acidity. So it actually lightens up by adding some more meat. It lightens up the dish. So this is a favorite. This is something, like we're tired of eating our own food when we're chefs.
Sure.
And this is one thing I still crave for and I still would eat. So that's my recommendation, among other things.
Well, everyone heard it. They've got to order it. Priscilla, thank you so much.
Merci, thank you.
And good luck.
Merci. It was a great time.
That's the show for today. If you're listening on Spotify, be sure to check out the poll related to this episode by scrolling down in your app. There are more exciting conversations to come this season, so I hope you'll subscribe or share the show with a friend if you've been enjoying what you've heard so far. As always, you can find more from me at lindsaytramuta.com and at the New Paris Dispatch on Substack. À très bientôt.